Have you ever been out in public and seen someone with a medical device and wondered what it did or why they have it? Well, today I'm going to explain my medical device. I have a NG tube, or other name for it is a feeding tube. This tube goes up my nose, down my esophagus, and into my stomach. There is also a tube called an NJ tube. That tube goes up your nose, down your throat, into your stomach, but then it goes past your stomach and into something called your jejunum. Your jejunum is a small piece of your small intestines. That way you can be fed without it going through your stomach. Then there are various surgical tubes. There are a G tube, which is like the NG tube in the sense that it goes into your stomach. However, it is surgically placed by a small opening in your abdomen that they place a tube through and directly into your stomach instead of having to travel as far as a NG does. That tube is more low profile, and most people prefer a surgical tube over a nasal tube. Now, there's also a J tube. The J tube's like the NJ tube in the sense that it just goes into your jejunum. However, that one is also created by a small opening directly into your intestines. There is also what is called a GJ tube. Now that tube is created by a small opening as well. However, it goes into your stomach, so it has a port for your stomach, and then it has a longer piece that goes into your jejunum. Most people will be fed then through their J portion of that tube and drain or put meds through the G portion. That can be done for various reasons depending on the person's case. So, how I am fed is I am fed through what is called a pump. My pump pushes formula, or in this case, water, from this bag through my tube and into my stomach. Now, in order to set your pump, you must load your set by opening up this little window. This piece then has to go in here, be stretched, put in, close the little door, and then since my pump is already on, I just hit run, and now it's running my fluids. However, when the fluids time have been up, which for me is 4 hours, I run fluids for 4 hours and feeds for 20 hours. I then would open up this little cap, shake up my formula by shaking it, and then I would pour the formula into my bag after I take off the cap. And then I would simply just close this and my feeds would be running. Now, there are various ways to do feeds, but they all hook up around the same way. So there is this little, I guess you can call it a Christmas tree, and it comes out, and that's then your tube. This is the med port, this is your feed port. This would then go in here when not in use. This simply just goes in here. And then you can run your feeds or your fluids that way. However, there is something called bolus feeding, which is where you would take a syringe, a large syringe, so a 60 ml syringe or whatever your biggest syringe would be. It has a Christmas tree on it as well, and a cap. Again, you would shake up the formula, pour it in here, and let gravity do the work. Now, there's also gravity feed bags. That way you can pour all your feed into a bag and just let gravity run. However, in my case, I need my feeds to run at a very specific rate that gravity cannot do, which is why I then use a pump. Now when your feed's finished, you do have to flush your tube with water, that way it does not get clogged. So that is pretty much the biggest thing, is to make sure your tube does not get clogged, because that can happen very, very easily, especially with nasal tubes. Now, some people do fluids and feeds, some people just run feeds, some people are in different amounts of feeds, and some people even do their meds through their tubes. It all depends on the person's case and what they need their tube to do. So it can vary from person to person, but it's still a feeding tube and it still can do the same thing. I hope that this video helped you learn something, and thank you for watching.